I'm also here representing another group, the UN European Economic Commission, UNECE, and the UNECE Transboundary Water Convention is a very powerful tool for trying to focus on how we manage river basins that cross political boundaries. And that's very complementary to what we try to do in WWF. We try to integrate in a very holistic way lots of different perspectives together. We try to think about development, we try to think about the developed world too, and we try to think about biodiversity, species, and ecosystems. WWF in particular, as you probably know, we work in over 100 countries around the world. My particular focus is on freshwater climate adaptation. I travel the world globally, working in particular places, helping governments, local projects, local people be able to focus on practical actions and responses about how to respond to shifts in climate, particularly in regard to water. Why is water important? It's very simple. Really, water is literally what we're made of. Water is how we integrate most of our lives. It's how we think about energy production in terms of hydropower. It's how we think about water supply and sanitation. It's how we grow crops. And if there are changes that are happening in terms of the security that we have around water, that it influences our civilization in every aspect globally. And particularly for the developing world, this is really, really critical. Our vision is really to focus on the idea of trying to make sure that humans and ecosystems and species are able to adapt to the shifting climate together. Some of the particular places that we can see really powerful impacts that are complex in regard to water in the Danube Basin. In the upper Danube, in Central Europe, we see actually increased flooding, whereas in the lower Danube, in Eastern Europe, we see increased droughts. In the Yangtze, we're seeing a lot of really strange weather there. In the upper Yangtze, in Tibet, for instance, we are seeing massive losses in retreat of glaciers and changes in the snowpack system that are altering the flow regime. We've seen big shifts in the movement of species in the upper Yangtze. Whereas in the lower Yangtze, it's a broad floodplain, and we've had major changes and impacts in agriculture. We've lost one freshwater dolphin in the lower Yangtze, and we're in danger of losing another. In the city of Shanghai, a city that has something like 25 million people that live in it, its highest point is maybe 5 meters above sea level. Most of it is only 1 or 2 meters above sea level. This is one of the great engines of the global economy that's terribly threatened both in its water supply from climate change in the actual Yangtze River and from sea level rise. So how do we bring all of this together? This is where we come to the idea of practical action. We know most of what we need to do already in order to do freshwater climate adaptation. Environmental flows, planning at a basin level, making sure that we work across industries. It's really focusing on sustainability and having a holistic vision that cuts across governments and political boundaries. It's also critically important that this simple vision is reflected in the language that we see evolving in the adaptation documents in the COP, and we don't see that right now. There are bits and pieces that are located in the emerging adaptation texts, but we don't have a recognition that water is special. The UNFCCC is viewing water as a sector. A sector is like an industry. It's looking at treating water like it's the energy industry or the petroleum industry. Water is a cross-cutting theme, and we need to make sure that we maintain that theme, that primacy of water in terms of being able to help humans and ecosystems be able to shift to the emerging climate. And in that sense, practical tools, practical assistance, and practical finance are what we have to see come out of COP15. The UNECE has done an admirable job in preparing a document that does, I think, represents one of the major first steps in that particular approach. They've prepared a document for policymakers that takes them through the complete step of educating them about the needs for freshwater adaptation and actually how to implement it at the national level. Thanks very much.